Good afternoon. I'm in northern New Mexico, I don't know, about 30 miles from Colorado, in San Juan County, just outside of Aztec in the Four Corners area. And we're about to go on a little ride. It's not a long one. It's going to be pretty short. And apparently it's date night, which is a kind of strange. So I brought my date with me. Right here. So she wanted to go on a horse ride. Normally I don't film this stuff, but we'll go check some stuff out. I think you might find it a little bit interesting.
Really fast.
Do you think aliens are real?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you know what an alien is?
Horses like aliens.
Horses like aliens?
Yeah.
I don't know if the horses know what aliens are.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I don't know what your stance is on aliens, but there's actually an alien story in this area. In the 40s, well, ufologists, I think is what they call themselves. They think after the atomic bomb was created and tested in New Mexico, there was a lot more alien activity in spaceships. And so they think that the aliens were monitoring what humans could do. And so there started to be a lot more alien sightings. And so in I think it was 47 was the Roswell crash. And so that was like a pretty big deal. After the Roswell incident, people started noticing UFOs around here a lot. And there was a guy, he's actually a police officer in Cuba, which is about 100 miles south of here. He saw some lights there at a diner, and he decided to follow it. And so he took off, headed north up 550. I don't think it was 550 at the time, but he was just following this UFO. It was just this bright light headed this way. Don't let this branch get you. Watch out for the branch. Okay, okay, hang on tight.
Really fast.
We're gonna go up a steep hill.
My hat! My hat!
You lost your hat? Oh, here comes a bike. Hold on. Wait. And she's got this under her tail.
Oh.
I might have to lead her.
Why?
Because she's scared. Oh.
I'm not scared.
No, the horse is scared. Okay, I'm gonna lead you, okay?
Why?
Okay, is Chapo coming? Come on, Chapo. It's pretty scary. This is really tight right here too, okay? So pick up your feet if you need to. You doing okay? Are we gonna get wet? It's raining.
It's red.
Yeah, what are we doing right now?
Getting under a tree.
Yep, getting under a tree because it's raining.
It's raining under here too.
Yeah, but not as bad as out there. You think it's stopping now?
Stopped on the hill. Stopped.
It hasn't rained here pretty much all summer. And then of course, while we're out, it starts raining. We're going up the hill. This is actually a bike trail. They have like bike races and stuff. And so we're actually just going up bike trails. We ran into one bike rider so far. But that police officer, he was chasing this car going up from Cuba. And then, so Blanco is right over here, not Blanco, Blanco is right on the other side of this hill or this ridge. And a rancher saw a flying saucer coming over the top, and it hit the top of that mesa over there. And then they didn't see what happened, but it ended up crashing right here. And the reason why it crashed, according to the people who research aliens and stuff, is because at that time they had new experimental radar stations, and there was one in El Vado, which is about 75 crowfly miles from here. So the spaceship was around here checking humans out because of the nuclear stuff, like around Los Alamos and whatnot. Then it got hit by this radar, made it crash, and it landed right here.
I made it.
On March 25th, 1948, there was reports of a fire up here. And there's well locations all over, obviously not as many back then, but we're right in the middle of an oil patch. And so the oil field workers, they were coming up because they were afraid of a well location catching on fire. So they came up to fight the brush fire, which was right up here. This is up Hart Canyon. And they got to the fire. I think they got it put out. And then somebody says, you got to go check out this saucer that crashed. And so they come up here, and there's a saucer that is 99.9 feet in diameter. And then a bunch of feds and a whole bunch of other people start showing up. And there's between 14 and 18, most people say there's 16 little aliens that are green. Pretty sure they said they're green, and they're the size of a child.
I made that off of here too.
You finding anything cool?
Yeah. Whoa.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the story, and it crashed right here. There's the mesa that it crashed, or it skipped off of. Crash site is just right here on the other side. This is not remote. Like, this is a pretty popular or pretty busy road. So this is Hart Canyon, goes up here, Hart Mountains over there, and then it turns around and it's the Arkansas Loop. So this is, I think down here lower was actually part of the original stagecoach that went from Aztec to Durango. Over there? After everybody, they got the whole crash site figured out. Like I said, there were a few witnesses, and they kind of had the gag order. They weren't allowed to talk to it. And there was actually a newspaper article in Aztec, and apparently that has disappeared. But shortly after, they say it took about 2 weeks. They came in, picked up this huge UFO that was crashed here, and hauled it to Los Alamos. but nobody witnessed it or nobody's talked. There's no record of it. And then they brought in another crew, and there were some witnesses to that. They thought it was just a plane crash, and they had to rehabilitate this whole area. So they had to make it look just like it was. So if there's any crashed trees, they would actually pull them out, and then they would transplant new trees, so that way it looked like nothing ever happened. And so that's why they say you can't tell. Nothing really came of the crash site, but in 1950, they started seeing a lot more UFO activity around Farmington. There was a lot of accounts, and UFO people think that they were just coming to see where the one UFO had crashed to pay tribute or to look for survivors or to do something like that. But this is where they say it all went down, was right here. People have like done stuff with rocks and all kinds of stuff. There's also a sign over here that marks it. Recovery at Hart Canyon. On or about this site on March 25th, 1948, a spacecraft of origins unknown crashed or landed on this mesa. It is alleged that Los Alamos radar station nearby El Vado, New Mexico, tracked the errant landing to the site. A high security recovery operation led by the Air Force and 5th Army Division was responsible for the removal of this craft. The recovery operation took approximately 2 weeks, with all the remains being taken to Los Alamos Laboratory for scientific study and evaluation by some of the world's leading scientists. Later, it is rumored to have been taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. The recovery of this craft by the U.S. government and military was one of the most secretive recoveries of a spacecraft with origins unknown since the similar recoveries in Roswell, New Mexico 8 months earlier. The spacecraft was approximately 100 feet in diameter and 18 feet tall. It was one of the most intact crafts the government had recovered at the time. So Scott and Susan Ramsey, they wrote a book, and they've done pretty much all the research, and they put this here in 2007. We had to bail off that hill in the rain. He just shook. He just shook. He just shook. You're okay. It started raining, and if you've ever been with a 3-year-old in the rainstorm on a horse, you know why we cut it short. She actually did pretty good, but I wanted to fill you in on a couple things that we didn't make it to. I was planning on doing a bigger loop and explaining some more stuff, but you should note that in 1949, Frank Soley, who was a famous author of the time, he caught wind of this and he started writing articles in newspapers. And then in 1950, he wrote a book. It was called Beyond the Flying Saucer. And it kind of exposed this whole thing. So it made it pretty well known. And I think he sold like 60,000 copies or something crazy like that. But where he was getting his information was from Silas Newton and Leo Gebauer. And they were supposedly scientists that were working for the government at the time, and they were involved in all of that. And in Frank Soley's book, he based the main character, the scientist, off of 8 different scientists that were working for the government. And what Silas Newton and Leo Gebauer were doing is they were selling doodle bugs. And so it was kind of like a dowsing system that would find oil and gas or water or pretty much whatever you're looking for. So they were going around selling it to all the oil-filled companies in the area, just trying to make money. It turned out that the doodle bug didn't work, or they say it didn't work. And they had metal in this doodle bug, and it was kind of the secret sauce. And they said that that metal came from the spaceship that had crashed. And so later on, people tested it. Turned out it was just aircraft aluminum. So just normal aluminum. And they were actually convicted of fraud in 1953. They were sued by a couple people, lost the case. So the whole thing was considered a hoax. After the whole Frank Scully, Newton, G. Bauer hoax type thing, people kind of forgot about it. Like everybody in the area knew of the crash site and they referred to it as a crash site. Nobody ever really thought about it or looked into it anymore. Until more recent times when like Scott Ramsey and other ufologists, they started really digging in and looking for witnesses and doing some investigating, things like that. So they think that this hoax and this lawsuit and this fraud was just part of the government cover-up, so that way nobody ever knew about it. That for a long time they had a UFO symposium in Aztec where they'd get together. I don't know what they would really do, but it's just where all like the believers in the hoax or the believers in the crash would get together. So if you start digging into the stuff, like I gave you like the simple snapshot of it, if you dig into it, which I haven't dug completely into it, if you read the Ramsey's book or even Beyond the Flying Saucer, I haven't read those, but people are dead set on that it really happened. I personally don't know. So if you think it's true, let me know. I do think that the government tries to hide stuff from us, but I don't know if they're good enough at hiding stuff, especially from that far back to, if it's true or not. So it is what it is. Hopefully, maybe you have more information or find it interesting. Let me know. Sorry I didn't get to show you around the area quite as much, but it's just desert with some cool rocks and arches and stuff. But thanks for watching.